The 2004 NBA season was unbelievable to say the least. From the Malice at the Palace, Emeka Okafor winning Rookie of the Year, Steve Nash winning MVP, and finishing it all off with another Spurs title. Now, the 2005 season had to be great to live up to all the hype, and it all started with the NBA draft. On the clock first were the Milwaukee Bucks, fresh off a lovely season where they only won 30 total games. Michael Redd and Desmond Mason were carrying the team in terms of scoring, but their defensive rating was one of the worst in the entire league. Now, the Bucks decided to beef up this team with a center who is hopefully going to not only provide scoring potential for them, but also help drastically on the defensive side of the basketball. They selected Andrew Bogut, number 1 overall, who was a 7-footer and had almost perfect fundamentals coming out of college. And although Andrew Bogut is thought of as a bust by some, I really don't see it that way. He started off his career on the right foot, starting in 77 out of 82 games that he played in, averaging 9.4 points, 7 rebounds, and 2.3 assists per game while shooting 53.3% from the field. This was enough to earn him a spot on the all-rookie team. However, injuries would become a common trend for him starting late in his second season. He would only be able to play in 66 games after suffering a sprained left foot. And while having a healthy season the following year, a stress fracture in his lower back would cut his 2008-2009 season short as well. He did make a great comeback though, making the All-NBA team in the 2009-2010 season and leading the league in blocks with 2.6 per game the following year. This spoke to just how much he'd grown as a player since entering the league, even while being forced to recover from so many injuries. Following the 2011-2012 season, Bogut would be traded from the Bucks to the Warriors. His first season in Golden State would be spent mostly on the sidelines as he underwent surgeries to repair his ankle, missing most of the games early in the year and leading to him only playing in 32 total games. Once he did wiggle his way into the Warriors starting lineup for an entire season, he was much more focused on fighting for rebounds and blocking shots rather than scoring. Bogut ended up making his way onto the all-defensive team in the 2014-15 season, and to top it all off, he got a ring to go along with it. After winning that title, he would spend one more season with the team before bouncing to the Mavericks, then to the Sixers, and finally the Cavaliers. Sadly, his season in Cleveland would last just under a minute, as he suffered a gruesome injury that would end up being diagnosed as a fractured tibia. In the 2017 offseason, after making another impressive return from another tough injury, he would sign with the Lakers, where he played only 24 games with the team before being waived around a month before the trade deadline. He took the rest of the season off and returned to Australia to be with his pregnant wife during this time. Despite being back home in his country of Australia, Bogut could not keep himself away from the game of basketball, and he joined the Australian National Basketball League and proved he still had a lot to offer. After that season was over, he made his return to the Golden State Warriors, retiring from the NBA after the season ended. Despite all the injuries and setbacks that Bogut faced throughout his career, he still retired with an appearance on the 2005-2006 All-Rookie team, one appearance on the All-NBA team, one appearance on the All-Defensive team, led the league in blocks for a season, and won one NBA title. After retiring in 2018, Bogut would go on to play in the National Basketball League in Australia once again, where he would go on to win the MVP award that same season. Bogut has been spending a lot more time with his wife and kids, and after 2020, he was really excited to start playing in basketball tournaments around the world, and is currently a partial owner of the Sydney Kings. Up at number 2, we had the Atlanta Hawks, coming off their worst season in franchise history, finishing with just 13 wins and 69 losses. Talk about a terrible overall season the year prior, finishing bottom 5 in not only points per game, but also points given up per game. Before that season even began, they were expected to come in dead last with around 16 wins, and they somehow managed to still underperform expectations. Regardless, they needed help, and what better way to have that than a top 5 draft pick at your disposal? They decided to go with the power forward in Marvin Williams at the number 2 pick, even though they already had Al Harrington, who was playing very well for them at the time. Along with Harrington playing well for the Hawks, they would also benefit after trading for Joe Johnson, and Josh Smith was coming into his own and starting to be a solid player for the team. I mean, this team was super young already, and Marvin Williams just added to that factor even more. The Hawks figured they could use a guy like Williams who had insane athletic ability, a nice jump shot, and good ball handling ability as well. Despite only starting in 7 of the 79 games that he played in his rookie season, he still had a great year, averaging 8.5 points and 4.8 rebounds per game, earning him a spot on the all-rookie team. In his second season, he took over as the team's starting power forward because Al Harrington was traded. The year after Harrington left, he actually transitioned into being a small forward, while Josh Smith took over that power forward role for the Hawks. Williams' best year as a member of the Hawks would come in his first season as a small forward, where he averaged 14.8 points and 5.7 rebounds per game. In the 2012 offseason, Williams would be traded from the Hawks after spending 7 years with the team. The deal sent Williams to the Utah Jazz in exchange for Devin Harris. He would see a reduced role with the Jazz, bouncing in and out of the starting lineup, but his outside shot was something that Williams put an extensive amount of work into, and he was putting it on full display, shooting 35.9% in his final season with Utah. After the 2013 to 2014 season, Williams would sign a 2-year, $14 million deal with the Charlotte Hornets in hopes of seeing a bigger role than he was getting in Utah. While he would jump in and out of the starting lineup in his first year with the Hornets, he would serve as the team's starting power forward in each of the following 4 seasons. Williams' best year as a Hornet would come in his first year as a full-time starter, where he averaged 11.7 points and 6.4 rebounds per game, while shooting an elite 40.2% from deep. Midway through the 2019-20 season, Williams' time in Charlotte would come to an end as they bought out his contract very close to the trade deadline. He would then go on to back up Giannis Antetokounmpo for a bit, but after being bounced in the second round of the playoffs in 5 games by the Miami Heat in 2020, Williams would end up retiring. He ended his career with an appearance on the 2005-2006 All-Rookie team. Since retiring from basketball, Williams has joined the Hornets staff with the basketball operations department, where he focuses on player development off of the court. On the clock at the 3 slot, we had the Utah Jazz, who were in desperate need of a point guard at the time. Luckily for them, they ended up drafting a great one. Throughout the 2004 season, the Jazz had rostered 5 point guards, none of which averaged over 10 points per game, and only one of them averaged barely over 5 assists per game. After his rookie season, Deron Williams blew those numbers out of the water every single year that he was with the team. There were not many aspects of Deron Williams' game not to like. He was thought of as almost an on-court coach. He was super strong for a point guard, and he had a great jump shot. The only negative that anybody could find was that he might be a little bit slow when compared to other NBA players. That didn't matter though, because Williams broke into the starting lineup around the halfway point of his rookie season and averaged a very solid 10.8 points and 4.5 assists while shooting lights out from 3 at 41.6%. He became a full-time starter in his second season, starting in all 80 games that he played in. This bigger role would lead to him quickly catching on as one of the best young point guards that the league had to offer at the time. He made his first All-Star appearance in the 2009-2010 season, averaging a double-double while shooting lights out from 3. While Williams was making a name for himself on the court, off-court issues would soon be a big problem for him. Williams had a well-known beef with the team's head coach, Jerry Sloan. One of the biggest issues Sloan had with Deron was that he would call his own plays. Sloan wouldn't even let John Stockton call his own plays, so there was no chance he was going to let Williams. When talking about his issues with the coach, Williams was quoted as saying, "Our relationship was definitely strained at the end. I think I held on to that rookie year, not starting, how he didn't really play me, and would play me a couple minutes here and there. But I always respected Coach Sloan. I learned a lot from him. My best years were definitely in Utah. I got a lot of love and respect for him as a coach and as a person." Midway through the 2010-11 season, Williams was traded to the New Jersey Nets for Devin Harris, Derek Favors, 2 first-round picks, and cash considerations. In New Jersey, Williams was the star of the team and was neck and neck with Chris Paul as the best point guard in the league. He made the All-Star game in his first 2 years with the team, but would be forced to take a reduced role after the team acquired Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett in a blockbuster trade a few seasons later. After this trade, while there were some concerns about the age of the team's main stars, some thought that they had the talent necessary to compete with the big 3 of LeBron, Wade, and Bosh on the Miami Heat. However, that was not the case, and James would dominate the Eastern Conference throughout the remainder of Williams' time with the Nets. After his run with the Nets came to an end, he would sign with the Mavericks and then the Cavaliers, where he would serve as a backup point guard. He would see his most successful run in the postseason with Cleveland, making it all the way to the NBA Finals, where he would run into the almost unstoppable Golden State Warriors team in their first season with Kevin Durant on the roster. It was clear that the Cavs were outmatched in almost every aspect of the game, and they would fall in just 5 games. Williams ended up playing in all 5 of those games of that series, but would greatly struggle, averaging just 1 point, 1.6 rebounds, and 1.2 assists per game while shooting 12.5% from the field and 11.1% from 3. After this series was over, he would end up retiring from the league, ending his career with an appearance on the All-Rookie team, 3 All-Star appearances, and 2 All-NBA appearances. While his prime would not last for that long, his peak still came with him being a top 2 point guard in the entire NBA. And after retiring from the NBA, Williams would become a full-time father, raising his 4 kids, played a ton of golf, dabbled in construction, and began heavily getting into MMA. He actually had a fight with Frank Gore, who was a retired NFL running back, where he would end up winning via a split decision as an undercard to the Jake Paul vs. Tyron Woodley fight. On the clock at number 4 were the New Orleans Hornets, who were coming off a brutal 18-64 season, in which they ranked last in points per game, and they traded 2 of their best point guards, Dan Dickau and Baron Davis, in the middle of the year. Chris Paul seemed like a perfect fit for their struggling team at the time. They hoped he would become the leader that was needed to turn this team around, and boy, were they right. In his rookie season, the Hornets finished with more than double the wins that they had the year prior, and Paul averaged 16.1 points, 5.1 rebounds, 7.8 assists, and 2.2 steals per game, earning him the Rookie of the Year award. Around this time, he was finding extreme success in the pick and roll game with Tyson Chandler, leading to the two being one of the top duos in the league. In an interview when asked about CP3, Chandler said, "I never had a problem with CP because I knew he wants to win. I can ride with anybody that's putting in the work like that and challenging you." And that's like CP's whole thing. Even the little dirty stuff he do or whatever, CP is a competitor. He's one of the best competitors that this game has had. Everybody don't take it the right way, but if you can appreciate a competitor, then you can appreciate the game and you appreciate him. The first major road bump in his career would occur in the 2009 to 2010 season. A little over halfway through the season, Paul tore cartilage in his left knee, leading to him only playing in 45 games that season. Shortly before this, Paul felt betrayed by the team's front office after they fired head coach Byron Scott without really consulting him about it at all. Pairing this with the lack of real playoff success, it was clear that his days in New Orleans were about to come to an end. Midway throughout the 2011 to 2012 season, one of the biggest what-ifs in league history would occur when the Hornets agreed to a 3-team deal that would have made Paul a member of the Lakers. This would have paired him with Kobe Bryant and potentially led to him winning the first ring of his career. However, as we know now, this deal would end up getting vetoed and Paul would instead be traded to the Clippers. Paul would continue to be one of, if not the best pure point guards that the league had to offer throughout his time with the Clippers, leading to both Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan having some of their best years of their career with Paul as their point guard. The trio would become one of the most exciting teams in the league to watch and were given the nickname Lob City for their constant alley-oops and insane dunks. Despite this, injuries and playoff collapses would be a common theme for Paul's reign as the face of the Clippers. After 6 years with the team in the 2017 offseason, Paul was traded to the Houston Rockets. This was actually another blockbuster deal that paired him with James Harden, the best scorer in the entire league at the time. With Paul having the reputation of making the players around him much better and finding them easy scoring opportunities, this seemed like a match made in heaven. Quite the opposite would end up holding true though. The duo would end up having a terrible relationship, mainly due to them both being such ball-dominant guards. When talking about his 2 years in Houston and his relationship with James Harden, Chris Paul said, "The thing that frustrated me the most was that first year. I wasn't healthy. It's crazy. Them years in Houston are kind of a blur to a certain extent because there was so much going on at the time, but dang, we was good. We was real good." After the failed experiment in Houston, Paul would trade places with Russell Westbrook. He would end up on the Oklahoma City Thunder, throwing Paul onto a rebuilding team, and while some veterans would refuse to play for the team, he embraced the role and was a huge help as the team's mentor. After one season with the Thunder, Paul was traded yet again, this time to the Phoenix Suns. In his first season with the Suns, he excelled as a playmaker for the team's developing young players, Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton. This would be the deepest playoff run of his entire career, with the team taking down the Los Angeles Lakers in the first round in 6 games, sweeping the Nuggets in the second round, and defeating the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals in 6 games. However, they would run into the Milwaukee Bucks, who would prove to be just a bit much in the NBA Finals, sending the Suns packing in 6 games. Unfortunately, Phoenix wasn't able to make the finals again, even with the addition of Kevin Durant, and in the 2023 offseason, Paul was traded to the Golden State Warriors. In Golden State, Paul has come off the bench for the first time in his career in hopes that him serving as the team's sixth man will give them the boost they need to win his first NBA title. Up to this point in his career, Paul is one of the most highly decorated players in league history, with a Rookie of the Year award, 12 All-Star appearances, 11 All-NBA appearances, 9 appearances on the All-Defensive team, led the league in assists 5 times, steals 6 times, and was named to the NBA 75th anniversary team. Selecting at number 5 were the Charlotte Bobcats, who finished the previous season with the same record as the Hornets of 18-64, and also were in need of a point guard badly. They chose to go with Raymond Felton out of North Carolina because he had great ball handling, was super fast, and an amazing playmaking ability. He took over as the team's starting point guard near the midpoint of his rookie season, averaging 11.9 points and 5.6 assists per game, which earned him a spot on the all-rookie team. Felton continued to be a very solid point guard for the team, serving as a pass-first player. In the 2010 offseason, Felton agreed to a 2-year, $15.8 million deal with the New York Knicks. The addition of Amari Stoudemire to the team in the same offseason would lead to a great pick-and-roll duo between the two, but unfortunately it wouldn't last long as Felton was traded to the Nuggets shortly after. This blockbuster deal would be the one where Carmelo would end up on the Knicks. Once he was in Denver, Felton found himself coming off the bench much more than he would have liked, and on the night of the 2011 NBA draft, he was traded to the Portland Trail Blazers. Felton would take over as the team's starting point guard, but was on the move yet again in the following offseason back to the New York Knicks. In his last offseason with New York, he was arrested for felony gun charges, leading to a 4-game suspension to start off his next season. In that offseason, he and Tyson Chandler were sent to the Dallas Mavericks. Around this time, he would begin serving mainly as a bench player, taking it much better than he had in Denver. After 2 years in Dallas, he bounced from the Clippers and then to the Thunder, where he would spend the final 2 years of his NBA career. He would retire at the end of the 2018-19 season with an appearance on the all-rookie team. And shockingly, Felton doesn't even look like the same person anymore. He's put on a ton of weight and took the internet by storm recently when he appeared in a celebrity vs. alumni game. At number 6, the Portland Trail Blazers were on the clock, and they needed a desperate spark after finishing bottom 5 in points per game the season prior. They decided to go with Martell Webster, who looked promising at first, but that decision would eventually backfire because of many injuries. Martell Webster was one of 2 players in this year's top 10 that made the jump straight from high school to the NBA. The Blazers loved what they saw with his raw talent and athletic ability, but after getting off to a slow start in his rookie season, he would be sent down to the D-League in hopes to further develop him, and he was still a very young player, so they thought they had some time with him. He was beginning to show a lot of promise in the 2007-2008 season, starting in 70 out of 75 games that he played in and averaging 10.7 points while shooting 38.8% from 3. Unfortunately, a left foot injury would stop this momentum dead in its tracks. In the 2010 offseason, he was traded to the Timberwolves, but he would miss nearly half of the following season due to him undergoing back surgery. After one more season in Minnesota, he would sign with the Wizards, where he spent the final 3 seasons of his career. He had a solid first 2 years with the Wizards, but in the offseason, he would have surgery to repair a herniated disc in his back. He would play his final year in the league in the 2014-15 season, but once again had it cut short, this time to repair a labrum and damaged cartilage in his right hip. Webster had a lot of potential, and if it hadn't been for all the injuries, he could have been a very talented scorer in the league. After retiring from the NBA, it appears that he's dabbled in creating some music. I definitely can't play it on here because I know it's going to get copyrighted, but props to him for doing what he enjoys. At the number 7 selection, we had the Toronto Raptors, who took another big man despite having Chris Bosh on the roster. Charlie Villanueva got off to a hot start in Toronto, starting in nearly half of the games that he played in and averaging 13 points and 6.4 rebounds per game, earning him a spot on the all-rookie team. But he was quickly traded in the offseason to the Bucks. His best season of his career would come in his final season with the Bucks, where he averaged 16.2 points and 6.7 rebounds per game. Following that great season, he wanted a change of scenery, signing a 5-year, $40 million deal with the Pistons. Despite getting a big paycheck, he wasn't a regular starter in his first year with the team and struggled to even find his way onto the court in some seasons. he would begin to let his conditioning go to the wayside and lead him to never fully reaching the promising potential that he had at one point in his career. After 5 seasons with the Pistons, he would sign with the Dallas Mavericks, where he would spend the final 2 years of his career. While he would begin to get things back on track in Dallas, he was still a near end of the bench player and was forced into retirement following the 2015-16 season at only 31 years of age. After retiring, Villanueva would dive into the real estate game and actually has a YouTube channel that he created a few years ago, teaching people about the realty world. On the clock at number 8 were the Knicks, in search of another big man to pair with Eddie Curry down low, and they would hope the answer was going to be Channing Frye. Channing Frye was seen as a floor spacer with an exceptionally good outside shot for a near 7-footer. The one downside here was the concerns on if he was going to be able to defend some of the more traditional big men that the league would throw at him. He served as a talented bench piece in his rookie season, averaging 12.3 points and 5.8 rebounds per game, earning him a spot on the all-rookie team. He tried to step up and had a bigger role in his second season, however, he would regress from his rookie year. In the following offseason, Frye was traded to the Blazers, where he would continue to see his minutes cut. He would eventually sign with the Phoenix Suns in hopes of seeing a bigger role. That's exactly what would happen, because in the 2010-11 season, he would end up averaging 12.7 points and 6.7 rebounds per game. Unfortunately, Frye was forced to miss the entirety of the 2012-13 season after it was discovered that he had an enlarged heart. But after being cleared to play the following year, he would start in all 82 games and appear to be playing back at a very similar level to where he was before his absence. Following his big comeback season, Frye would bounce between the Magic and eventually land on the Cavaliers. He would play a role in the team's legendary season where they came back from 3-1 against the Golden State Warriors in the 2016 NBA Finals. During his time in Cleveland, he would become a beloved player by fans, and they hated to see him go to the Lakers midway throughout the 2017-18 season. But in the following offseason, he would return to Cleveland in free agency in what would be his final season of his career. He retired with an appearance on the all-rookie team and as a one-time NBA champion. After retiring from the league, Frye got into the wine business, has a podcast called The Road Trippin' Show, and has done broadcast work on NBA TV. Next up were the Golden State Warriors, who were led by Jason Richardson and Baron Davis. Both were very solid players in the early 2000s, but they still couldn't put together a positive season in 2004. It honestly seemed like they had a well-balanced roster at the time, with Davis at the point, Richardson at shooting guard, Mike Dunleavy at small forward, and Troy Murphy at power forward. They were really just in need of another good big man. They hoped the answer to their problems was going to be Ike Diogu, but that wouldn't quite be the case. Things started out promising though, and he would have the best season of his career in his rookie year, where he averaged 7 points and 3.3 rebounds per game. But early into his second season, he was traded to the Pacers. Despite the front office being very high on him at the time of the trade, he wouldn't see much success in Indiana. He then bounced from the Trailblazers to the Kings, but would not see much playing time with either of them. He was also forced to miss the entirety of the 2009-10 season due to a knee injury. However, the Clippers gave him a chance once he recovered. Diogu struggled to see the floor in LA, and after the season concluded, he would sign with the Spurs, where he spent the final 2 games of his NBA career. Diogu never really got much of a chance to develop his game the way he needed to become a contributing player. Had he gotten the chance to stay with the team for an extended period of time, things might have played out much differently for him. Diogu was still playing in the Venezuelan League in 2023, and I do believe he was supposed to join the Big 3 League, but unfortunately I couldn't find any information saying that he actually played in any games. If anybody knows any more info about that, let me know in the comment section down below. Rounding out the top 10, we had the Lakers on the clock, looking to pair Kobe Bryant with a big man that could dominate the league for years to come. In the long run, things would end up working out, but from the start, Bryant wasn't the biggest fan of them taking Andrew Bynum at pick number 10 and holding on to him. He was looking for them to deal Bynum for Jason Kidd, which would never end up happening. Bynum would end up being a solid player for the Lakers because of his mobility for the center position, rebounding ability, and defensive capabilities. The Lakers brought in Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to help Bynum early in his career develop, and he was in good hands with Phil Jackson as his head coach. He would not get much of a chance to see the floor in his rookie year though. Despite this, he would make a big jump in his second season, starting in over half of the games that he played in. His 2007-2008 season would be sadly cut short due to a dislocated kneecap, but in the next 2 years, Bynum played a crucial role in the Lakers winning back-to-back titles, serving as a full-time starter in both final series. The best individual year of his career would come in the 2011-12 season, where he averaged 18.7 points, 11.8 rebounds, and 1.9 blocks per game, earning him a spot on the All-Star and All-NBA team. In the following offseason, he was a part of a blockbuster deal that sent Dwight Howard to the Lakers, and Bynum ended up on the 76ers. Unfortunately, he would not play in a single game with the Sixers due to knee injuries, and apparently made those injuries even worse from bowling. He then bounced from the Cavs to the Bulls and then ended up with the Pacers for what would be his final year of his career. Bynum retired as a one-time All-Star, two-time NBA champion, and appeared on the All-NBA team once. It appears that Bynum has taken a very low-key approach to his retirement as well, because I couldn't find any social media of his or updates on what he's actually doing with his life at this point in time. Now, if you guys enjoyed this video and want to see more, just take a look around the channel. Feel free to hit that subscribe button, and of course, as always, drop a thumbs up on this video. I will catch you in the 2006 Top 10 Draft Picks video.